എന്റെ പൊന്നെ, ഞാൻ ദയവ് ചെയ്ത് ഞാൻ ക്ലാസ് ഒന്ന് സെറ്റ് ചെയ്യുവാണ്. ഇന്ന് പുതിയൊരു ക്ലാസ് ആക്കട്ടോ. ഞാൻ വിളിച്ചത് ഒരു 10, 15, 20 മിനിറ്റ് കഴിയുമ്പോ കേട്ടോ. ഓക്കെ, ബൈ കേട്ടോ മോളെ. ബൈ ബൈ. കേട്ടോ. ബൈ കേട്ടോ.
Good morning, Father.
Good morning, Marandi. Hello, Marandi. Hello, Raja Marandi. Hello, hello.
Hi, Anup.
Hello, hello. Good morning.
Anup, namaste.
Namaste, namaste. कैसे?
ঠিক আছে।
ঠিক আছে।
ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে। তোমাকে कैसे আছে?
জি, ভালো আছে।
ভালো, ভালো।
Yes.
Where are you going, Father? Hello.
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 Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Buongiorno.
James Eka.
Hey, कैसे हाँ मनीषा
Are Manish Ra.
Matra.
Are Manish Ji.
Come on, guys, and right, show yourself.
Oh, of course, brother. I'm here. I will show myself.
Wear
This is
something and come.
no, it's too hot here. Too hot. I can't.
See.
I prefer to be like this.
Half naked man.
World.
Are you in?
Hey mama, wear a cloth.
Gasin, what is
Naked,
that?
man.
It's okay.
James,
This is perfectly okay, brother.
are you? James, too much.
Hey James,
Hey,
क्या कर रहा है?
आखिर में की
नहीं मिला था क्या?
Suto kiskana.
वही
James. Is there any there? Shavi. Play some music, man. Where is Guru? Guru is already recording the video.
Sabi. Are Sabi.
Yes,
Hello.
yes.
Play
Can
music,
hear you.
brother.
Huh?
Play music.
Which music you need? Which music?
Rap. Eminem. Latest Eminem.
Eminem.
Yep.
I will play. Play some music.
Whoa. Hey, it's not clear. Music is not clear.
Not by me. Somebody else.
What music is playing, man?
Manish, shoot Manish.
Alright.
Oh.
Next song.
Just gonna stand there and hear these
Yes.
It's alright, cause I love the way you lie. I love the way you lie.
tell you what it really is. I can only tell you what it feels like. And right now it's a steel night in my windpipe. I can't breathe, but I still fight. While I can fight, as long as the road feels right, it's like I'm in flight. I have a long drunk from my hate. It's like I'm up in
Just gonna. Oh, just gonna.
It's Father Kuru, Father Kuru.
Father Kuru is not here.
Reverend Father Kuruvela Pandikattu.
Yeah, he's back.
Hello.
Good morning,
Good
Father.
morning.
Father.
Good morning, Father Kuru.
Good morning, Father.
Hello, good morning. Is it okay? Audible for all of you?
Yes, Father.
Absolutely,
Yes, Father.
Father.
Hello.
Absolutely.
Audible.
Father.
Please give me
Very
a
happy to see
reaction. Is it
Father.
okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, Father.
Hello.
Yes, Father. Very well. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Father.
Yes, Father.
Hello. Am I? Is it okay? Can I begin? I am not getting any response from you. Hello.
Yes, Father. We can hear you.
Yes, Father, you can begin.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Father. You
are
are
audible, but
audible.
we are
Hello?
not audible to you.
Very much audible.
I can see you, but can you please unmute and just let me know whether I am audible? Hello?
Father, you might have muted the whole thing.
Anish?
Yes, Father.
Father.
You are audible.
Hi.
Wow.
Hello?
Hello, Father Kuru. Father Kuru, we can hear you. We can hear you. Hello. Hi, Father Kuru. Hi, Father Kuru. Hi.
Hi,
We can hear you.
Hi, everything.
Hi, something.
Hello? Can you all hear me?
Yes, Father. We can
Yes,
hear
Father.
you,
Yes,
Father.
Father. We can hear you.
I hope you can see my ugly face.
Okay. So, I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you, but you can hear me.
Yes.
Now, where could be the problem? Is it? Oh, sorry. The problem is with me because I had actually, very sorry. I had put the computer on the silent mode. That's okay. Hello?
You are forgiven, Father. You are forgiven.
Thank you. Okay. Let's get back to life. I am a little late, but doesn't matter. We'll make it up. Today, what I want to do is to give a summary of the first 2 slides, first 2 weeks. Okay, so let me just show you where we have been. I'll just share the screen first. Remember, long ago we started the class like this. This is the Philosophical Anthropology Week 1. I'm just making a summary of that. Okay, but things have become slightly different now. Our current situation has become a little more, let's say, dangerous. One, some priests and some religious have already died because of COVID-19. We shall pray for them, but at the same time, let us feel a sense of anxiety, helplessness, a new emptiness, angst, uncertainty. How are we going to deal with it? When and how we can cope with it? So that is there. And much worse, the third point is very, very alarming. You might have heard that in the last 2 months, 3 priests have committed suicide. And not only priests, I should have written religion. Many religious people, sisters have also committed suicide. It's terrible, very, very bad, very, very terrible. And it is in this context of the death of some of us, the anxiety that overwhelms us, and the suicide of our own. It is in this context that we want to ask the basic questions about life, death, and where we can find hope. So the whole question of hope, that is very, very crucial for us. Where can we find hope in this pandemic situation? Okay, before we begin, all of us know that this is going to be the second part of the course. And many of you have chosen to do that optional reading. For this, once you submit the thing, you will get 10 marks extra. All others will be, all of you would be marked out of 100, and this you will get 10 marks extra. But this you must finish it. Say our course gets over on 13th August. By 15th August, I want you to submit reading, summarizing, evaluating, and also giving some quotes of the book. This I want you to do it before the 15th of August. Meanwhile, I found another good book. Those of you who still want to read a book, I would suggest you read this book, Finding Meaning by Goodman. This book is very much connected with Viktor Frankl's book. All of you know Viktor Frankl's book, and it is connected with that. I have uploaded this into the Google Classroom. Afterwards, I shall show you. So in the Google Classroom, you can go to the general section and download this book. And if you want, you can read that also. Okay. This was the slide you all saw in the beginning. Please write down notes. Don't just listen to me. Only when you write down the notes, you are sure that it somehow gets into your mind and your personality. For this session, I am not asking you to submit the notes as you did last time online. No. You know enough of the need to write down the notes. So I'm not asking you to submit the notes, but I really want you to jot them down, synthesize it, and make it your own, the classes. Google Classroom used on a regular basis. The whole online business is difficult, challenging, but you have already, say, finished 6 weeks. Therefore, we would be able to manage it. 6 weeks, we have worked together. Congratulations. Now, this course, Philosophy of Man, is also called philosophical anthropology. This is to distinguish this from the general anthropology. What we have in the universities would be the general anthropology, and so the philosophical part of it comes here. The philosophical anthropology is the study of human nature, our fears and anxieties, our hopes and joys, also our social context. How are we connected as a group? The subject that I am and the intersubjectivity, the relationship between me and you. It is a I-thou relationship, to use Martin Buber's terminology. It is not an I-it relationship, but it is an I-thou relationship. And the fact that we are embodied, we are very much part of the earth, the bodiliness, that is very, very crucial for us. Therefore, the existentialist philosopher Martin Heidegger would say, we are beings in the world. We are not just spiritual beings. We are not disembodied spirits. We are beings in the world. And while we pursue this course, it is true not only of this course, but of the whole of philosophy. We are not searching for solutions or answers. We are actually searching for responses. How can we live our life? How can we respond to the tragedy like COVID and still make sense of our life? So making sense of our life, being immersed in the mystery that life is, that is the aim of our course. We are not here just to solve the problems or find an answer to the problems. Life is not a problem to be answered, to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. And in this connection, dear friends, we need to take some reasonable risk. You can never be sure that your friend is faking friendship. There is some kind of a risk that we have to take. Yes, I trust my friend. But this risk or this trust should not be unreasonable. It should to some extent correspond to our reason, our calculation, our, say, progress in thinking. Therefore, what we are doing in this course is an attempt to reach ourselves more and more. We are approaching the mystery of myself, but we will never be able to fully contain it. We'll never be able to fully grasp this. So, this course used to be called superior psychology versus inferior psychology. Inferior psychology is the psychology which Father Dinesh and others are doing. That we used to say in olden days, now we would never say it. That is the empirical psychology of Freud, counseling of Kharkov and others. But with a sense of arrogance and pride, we used to say that the philosophical anthropology is superior psychology. That, of course, is very bad. Also, we used to say ours is rational psychology versus the empirical or experimental psychology that is done by psychologists. It is in this context that we need to remember Shakespeare's dictum. Horatio, the Prince of Denmark, tells Horatio, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt in your philosophy. So, life is much more complex, beautiful, difficult, and challenging than what we place in our philosophy. Let's remember that. And with this introduction, let us remember that philosophy is rational, but it is not merely rational. Therefore, I want you all to remember Pascal's very famous quote, Blaise Pascal. He was a devout Catholic and he had some kind of a fight with the Jesuits. And he said, the heart has its own reason, which the reason does not know. Heart, our emotion, our well-being, that has got a reason which our head does not know of. So, once again, the reason is necessary in order to inquire into the subjects that we are doing. But we cannot reduce everything to this reason alone. Heart has got its own reason. Now, we call this course Philosophy of the Human Person. But in the documents that have come from Rome, they want to use the word man, philosophy of men. This is a little bit of exclusive language, philosophy of men. Therefore, for technical purposes, we may still follow the Roman usage, philosophy of men. But for us, it is philosophy of the human person. Okay, the situation in India, it's very bad today, or I don't need to say it. But what we need to remember is India has got a very rich tradition of critical reflective thinking, as shown in Vedas, Brahmanas, and Aranyakas. The Upanishad still has got some very beautiful quotes. 800 BC, that is almost 2800 years ago. Upanishads are also called, Vedantas, the end of Veda or after Veda, Vedantas. Now, from the Indian situation, we speak about the prana, that is the breath or wind, which we considered as the principle of life. And prana, atman, and it is connected with the breathing, life itself. Purusha is the person, the human being, the male normally. Purusha Sukta. And Purusha refers to the soul or the Atman that dwells in every person. You have the Jiva, the living principle, the Jeev. And yesterday, some of you listened to Professor Sonacharya. She was talking about the journey of those 143 migrants from Chennai or Visakhapatnam to Ranchi. And that was a very, very telling experience. How these migrants, in this case, were helped by Professor Sonacharya. Okay, in this context, the method that we employ is phenomenological. By phenomenological, we mean it is a question of describing the phenomenon. It is not theorizing, not drawing abstract concepts. It is describing that daily, ordinary experiences of life. We are not too much worried about the theory, the abstract part of it, because in phenomenology, we are bracketing it out. We are excluding the theory so that we can have a direct one-to-one experience of the situation. And this approach, hopefully, will lead to a authentic, liberative vision of human person. It is true that we can definitely possess a very oppressive understanding of the human person. Our philosophy, our theology can at times become very, very oppressive. And we should take care that religion is a liberative experience, a liberative vision that we give to our own people. It can, unfortunately, even religion can become an oppressive phenomenon. That is why Cyril de Brulé, all of you know of him, he used to take the course Philosophy of Liberation. That book is with us. It is published by us, Philosophy of Liberation. And we have his friends and colleagues have brought out a book in his honor. And that book is titled Fully Human and Fully Alive. Fully Human and Fully Alive. Essays on Being Human Today in honor of Dr. Cyril W. St. This is part of the JDV philosophy series. And we have actually, this is the 12th one. We have reached number 16. 16th is just recently out. The 16th in the series. Okay. Now a very, very important statement. Philosophy is anthropology. Or else we can say theology is anthropology. That means talking about God is nothing but talking about ourselves. Let's start with a quote from Paul Ricoeur. Paul Ricoeur was that famous French philosopher. He died about 15 years ago. And he would say, every understanding is self-understanding. Once you understand the pain and the agony of the migrants, then you are understanding yourself a little more. The whole of philosophy is an attempt to answer the basic question, who am I? So philosophy in that sense is anthropology, trying to see who I am. Ludwig Feuerbach, he was the forerunner to Karl Marx, 1804 to 1872. He simply said, theology is anthropology. Everything that we talk about God is only the projection that we have of the ideal human being. Therefore, objectively, there is no God. There is nothing divine. Only the humans project the best to God. That's all there is. There is really no God. There is only the human being. Theology is nothing but the study of the human person. But our friend Karl Rahner, the greatest theologian and philosopher of last century, he would agree with this Feuerbach statement, theology is anthropology. But he would say, we can speak of God only using human categories. This does not mean that there is no God. This means that God is so mysterious, so powerful, so complex, and our brains are so limited that we can imagine God only using our limited mind. Therefore, theology is anthropology, but that does not mean that there is no God. It means the God that we speak about is so overwhelming that we can only have a limited vision of God using our limited mind. In this context, what Kant would say is also very applicable. Kant would say there is a noumenon, the reality outside, but we don't know that noumenon. We know only the reality as it appears to us. Kant uses the word phenomenon. So we know only the phenomenal world, not the noumenon world. The same way Rahner would agree that we can speak about God only using our limited, restricted language and categories. But the world outside, the noumenon or the God in himself or herself is much more complex for our brain. Therefore, as theologians, as philosophers, we can agree to this statement that philosophy is anthropology. That does not mean that there is no God, as Feuerbach or even later Karl Marx would say. Freud also would agree with this statement. But we would use this Karl Rahner's formulation that theology is anthropology in the best sense of the word because our mind is limited. The pre-Socratic philosopher Xenophanes also says the same thing about 2500 years ago. The Ethiops, that is the present Ethiopians, they say that their gods are flat-nosed and black. The Ethiopians have got flat nose and black, while the Tarsians say that their gods have blue eyes and red hair. And he goes on. If the cattle or horses or lions had hands and could draw, and if they could sculpt like us, then the horses would draw their gods like horses. Cattle will draw a god like a bigger or a greater cattle. And each they would shape bodies of gods in the likeness, each kind of their own. Therefore, the horses would draw a god which is the bigger and a better horse with almost the same structure as horses. We can express God only using our limited categories, just like the horses and so on. Feuerbach would say that implies there is no God, there is only our human projection. Karl Rahner and others would say no, there is a God, but that God can be approached only using our human categories. So, some of the basic things that we have been learning. One, what is a human person? Who am I? I am a mystery. I am a thou. I, thou. Martin Buber. The phenomenon around us, the world in which we live. What is the phenomenon of being a human? What is our human nature? What is our origin and development? How do we grow, possess knowledge, realize ourselves? What is freedom? Are we really free? What is self-actualization and love? This self-actualization, I asked you to read Maslow's. And how do we understand love as self-emptying, as abandonment? That is what we have been doing. Then, reflections on death and the possibility of life after death. This would be some of the basic contents of this course. Then, as I have been repeatedly saying, we also dwell on the resurrection of the body, not the resurrection of the soul. Soul does not need any resurrection. Soul cannot be killed, therefore soul does not need any resurrection. The Christian belief is in the resurrection of the body, the eschatological body, the transfigured body, not just the physical body that we have. Okay, that was the first part. Then we came into the next one. There we are actually reflecting on the distinction between problem and mystery. Problems are technological. Finding a vaccine for COVID, that's a problem. Very difficult problem. It will be very, very useful. But mystery deals with the meaning of life, the significance of death, the whole trauma connected with COVID, that is mystery. While the problem would be how do we heal the COVID phenomenon. So, life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved. This is a quote from Gabriel Marcel. For problem, we have answers which are definitive, clear, which once you solve a problem, then there is nothing more. Like there is this problem of in trigonometry, problem in an equation, Pythagoras theorem. If you can solve that problem, then it is very clear, everyone will understand. But in the case of a mystery, mystery leads to response, more of inquiry, open-ended and flexible search. This is a search for meaning. How do I personalize it and make it my own? Therefore, the mystery is something that is ever approachable, never attainable. The mystery leads to more issues, more questions, and more depth. There is more depth in living a mystery. Therefore, dear brothers and sisters, our human life is a pilgrimage to an ever receding horizon. Horizon is the best word for it. Horizon. We are moving towards a horizon. We will never attain or touch that horizon. You know, by its very nature, a horizon can be approached, but the more you come closer, it recedes from you. It moves away from you. Therefore, we are always as human beings in search of meaning, in search of God, in search of who I am. We are approaching it more, understanding it more, but we will never fully grasp it. Hunger, poverty, the small little ones, the helpless ones, the many narratives, we need to take their life into question. And here the quote is very useful. Now this quote, initially I thought it was from Chesterton, but then when I searched, they say it could be from Albert Einstein, or more clearly it could be from Kurt Lewin. Kurt Lewin would say, nothing is more practical than a good theory. Our philosophical vision, our philosophical search, that gives a good theory. But if it is a good theory, then it has to be practical. Now, practical changing the world is based on our vision or ideas. An idea can change the world. An idea can change the world. So therefore, Kurt Lewin's statement, nothing is more practical than a good theory, is applicable to us. And because we are always approaching the question, our challenge as philosophy students, as religious persons, is we should be courageous enough to live into the question. Questions arise. Why this COVID? Why does it kill so many people? Instead of running away from the question, instead of searching for the solution, and most of the time we don't get any solution, can we live into the question? This is important. Can we live into the question? Look at death straight into the eyes of death. See the terror, anxiety, and can we still look into the eyes of death and live? Therefore, the challenge is, can we live into the question? Can we see life as an ongoing quest? And in this connection, some of the fundamental questions, we may not have solutions to all these questions, but it is worth asking. What's life? What can I know? What can I hope for? Life after death. The meaning and the significance of life. This, dear brothers, dear sisters, I want you to get fully into it. What is the meaning of our religious life? Is everything a useless passion? A useless passion, that is how Sartre described the human person. But most of the time we find meaning in too simple things too fast also. Can we really pause, look at our own failures and our own misery, and still say, life is meaningful. And in this context of the terrible suicide of some of us, we need to really ask this question. What is the meaning of my religious commitment? What's the meaning of being a priest? And more, what's the meaning of being a human being, being an Indian? Then the other questions, am I free? Do I have free will? What about the consciousness? How do I know? What is my self-identity? Immanuel Kant posed 4 basic questions. 1, what can I know? That is epistemology and hermeneutics. What should I do? Ethics and politics. What may I hope for? The hope. Not just life after death, but what can I hope for now also? So these 3 questions, not 4, 3 questions, they were posed by Kant. As I said earlier, anything can be understood oppressively or liberatively. Sad to say, even religion is becoming nowadays an oppressive phenomenon, and that is very, very bad. Can we bring out the liberative aspect in our day-to-day encounter? When you encounter your friend, your student, can it be a liberative experience? Of course, whenever we speak about oppression, there is truth, but truth will always or sometimes lead to error, because an error is an exaggerated truth. An error is an exaggerated truth. We can sometimes stress too much the spiritual or the mystical part of the human life. That would be an exaggerated truth. We can also stress too much the physical part of it, like hedonists and Charvakas do. And that also would be something of an oppressive understanding. And the Cyril is very clear. Today, when we look around the world, especially the plight of the migrant laborers, we should acknowledge that they are not just hungry, they are not just poor, they are purposely robbed of their food, exploited and malnourished by the powerful. Therefore, to understand the situation, the social dynamics, it is greed that drives these poor people mad. Therefore, the human condition today, even without COVID, is that we are almost living on a planet Earth which is mad and made mad by the powerful, the politician, the corporate lobbies. And it is in this connection that we need to understand the famous statement of Gandhi. The earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not greed. So, the distinction between greed and need. For the first time, we have the technological capacity to save humanity from the scourge of hunger. We can save humanity from the scourge of hunger. If we don't do it, it is because of our own greed, our own selfishness. So today we have not shortage of food. We have enough and more of food. But the shortage we have is shortage of justice, shortage of compassion. So, can we create an economically sustainable world where we take care of each other, where we are ecologically sensitive to one another? That is the challenge that we are faced with. So, basically, these questions, you have answered all of them. This will give you a bird's eye view of the first unit and learn the key words also. Pascal, Marcel, self-actualization, you will learn about it later. Xenophanes, the pre-Socratic philosopher. Okay, back to you. Do you have any questions, sir? Do you have any questions? Hello?
For my part, no, Father. I don't
Yeah. Okay. I want you to take.
Excuse me, Father.
Yes. Speak, please.
Yes, Father, it's me.
Yeah. Speak a little
Hello.
louder.
Hello, Father.
Yes. Yes, Anoop, I can hear you.
Yes, Father. One question, Father.
Yeah.
Can complete happiness be attainable?
Once again, can peace and happiness be attainable?
No. Can complete happiness be attainable?
No. As long as we are alive, as long as we are human beings, complete happiness can never be attainable. Maybe we believe after our death. After our death, we can attain complete happiness. Otherwise, I don't believe anyone can attain complete happiness. But we can grow in that self-realization. We can become more happy. We can become more authentic. We can become more authentic. See, the goal of life need not be all the time happiness. Like Socrates, when he gave up his life, he was not all that happy. Complete happiness we can never attain. By all means, I want you to read through the notes that I have already given to you. Let me take you to that screen once again. This is actually the classwork. I hope you can read it. And in this classwork, I have actually shifted these classes from July 22nd to August 13th. Everyday class will be given here. Today, for example, July 22nd is the review of week 1 and week 2. Review of week 1 we finished. Now after a break, we will take the review of group 2. But before that, what I want you to do is go to the general one and read this book I suggested to you, Man's Search for Meaning. That is something very, very good. But more than that, this is a new book which I have found, Finding Meaning in Life of Midlife and Beyond. It is based on Man's Search for Meaning. You can download this book also and read it. Okay, the third thing I want you by all means to redo is the must read notes. This will be the summary of all that we are saying in the Word file. Please download it. Most of you I know have already downloaded it, and do read this. Is it okay? Hello?
Okay, Father.